that voice getting louder and keeps my back to the wall. Fear starts taking me over, and I can't help but fall to my knees. Oh, can't you see, you won't let me be. Tears me down till I'm begging for rest. Heart so loud as it beats in my chest. Can't get down, no, we can't have the best of me. No, the devil's got no hold on me. Try getting farther, keep my feet from the stray, but the road gets harder, and I get led away, you see. Can't you see, he won't let me be. He tears me down till I'm begging for rest. Heart so loud. can't feel the ground underneath me. Ooh, baby, make my body shake. Got the sun coming up and I'm wide awake. Tonight has been a long time coming. Now I can finally see. Everybody puts a plate to something. Might as well be with me. I feel free, so free, so free.
What's up, everyone? Happy Saturday.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, Casper, how you doing?
Good. Except what I already told you, I had to replace part of my network to be here on time.
I know. The Saturday hectic moments.
Yes.
Hardware is amazing.
But it's always, I mean, it pays to keep stuff. So I have a big box of old stuff.
Yes.
And if something breaks, quickly run and try to fix it. But
Chatmaster C, I hope you're listening to this. She got on to me because I had the box. Everyone's got the box, right? You got the cables, you got everything. Yeah. She made me go through it, and I had to toss a bunch of stuff.
Shit. Next time, you can blame her.
Well, actually, that came up one time where it was like,
she's not going to kick me off the channel? Or
what? She has no control over that. There was one time it came up. I was like, well, I used to have that cable, but we got rid of it. So we had to go buy another one. So
she wasn't listening.
Chavis wasn't listening. Yeah, sure. I believe that. Oh, all right. So everyone, Casper is here with us today. Kasper de Jonge from the Power BI Cat team. So Casper, introduce yourself for folks that may be not familiar with what you do and
sure. Yeah. So my name is Kasper de Jonge. I've been on the Power BI team for quite a while. I think about like 12 years. Before it was Power BI. First was Power Pivot, and then several jobs in Power BI, and landed up in the Cat team like 6 years ago. Yeah. And pretty excited about it. So yeah.
And then you wrote me into the Cat team, and then I wrote Patrick into the Cat team. So
yes. And it's growing.
It keeps growing. So Casper also has, be sure to check out his YouTube channel. He's doing, he does a podcast every once in a while. So it's a longer form piece of content, but he meets with different folks, talks about different topics, usually all centered around data and Power BI. So go check that out. Yeah. It's great stuff. I've loved your
next one is going to
journey
be
on that.
Pretty amazing because I'm talking to Jeffrey Wang.
Yes.
The guy who wrote DAX.
Yes.
And it's going to be a long one because we couldn't stop talking. So it's probably going to be like hour and 20 minutes or something.
Oof.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also available on Spotify. So for your daily walk or something, you want to listen to it.
All the favorite podcast platforms. So iTunes, Spotify, all the great stuff. Nice. So it's Casper on BI. So definitely go check it out. Excellent. All right. If you are new to the live stream or GuideCube in general, put hashtag new in the chat. We always love seeing the new faces. They're around. I think the week before last, it was crazy. We had so many new people. Or actually, was it last week? Or we did one at the Power Platform Conference, and I forgot the news, so it wasn't that. Yeah. Also, shout out to all the members of GuideCube. We love the support that you give us every month. It's very much appreciated. It helps us do what we do here on Guy in a Cube. If you see folks with a green name or the Guy in a Cube logo next to their name, those are members of Guy in a Cube. So just huge shout out to you. If you want to learn more, check out the link on the screen or hit the join button down below. No commitment required, but just a big thank you from us for checking it out. And members, hold your questions till Chatmaster C gives you the go-ahead. We will have a members-only chat on the second half of the stream, so be on the lookout for that. Let's talk about the rules. So questions, get your questions in. The queue is open. Chatmaster C is standing by to get the question queued up. One time is all you need. Please do not spam the question. If you do spam, either Chatmaster C or one of our lovely moderators, except for Casper this time because he's on the stream, we'll put you in a timeout. So please don't do that. And then one time gets it into the queue, and we get to as many questions as we can. We never get to all the questions. So come back next time and we'll try again. So with that, Otto's in the chat. Otto, how you doing, buddy? It's been a while. Good to see you. Let's see, new folks. Let's see who we got. Jenny is new. I'm gonna mess up these names. Dewakar is new. MCG is new. I think that's it so far. So awesome. Thank you all for being here. Hope you find value and come back again. All right. Let's see here. Are we ready for the questions?
Mim, you're not new.
Mim's not new.
You're faking it.
Yeah. So good to see you, Mim. Always good to see you. Adam is new from the UK. Welcome. Alex, Alex is in the house. Another cat team member. Good to see everyone. So many regular faces, and I love seeing the new folks. Yeah, Miss Belinda. So we did a Christian. Knew some months ago. Yeah, a couple months ago. Appreciate your support, Christian. You've been a long-time supporter. Love it. So Patrick and I were at Power Platform Conference last week, and that Wednesday night we did a live stream. We had a live audience plus the YouTube audience. That was extremely stressful for me getting all that set up. So we had about 60 people or so, 50, 60 people live audience in the room, and then we had about 100 or more online. So Miss Belinda was there. It was great. We do the It Depends jar. So Kevin, you're gonna have to keep track. Patrick isn't here with his jar. And Miss Belinda came up and gave us an actual $1 to Patrick. Patrick was like, I don't know what to do with this. It was amazing. So appreciate that. And then Chris Wagner coming in with a super chat. Amazing. So saying congrats, Belinda, the newest data goddess over on Kratos BI. So appreciate the super chat, Chris. Love it. All right. Yeah, Mim says he can't miss you, Casper. That's why he's here. That's why he's here. All right. Are you ready for the questions? Get your questions in. The queue is a little light right now, so definitely get Q : in front of the question, and we'll get it queued up. MCG, you put question : that's good enough. That'll make it. All right. Some others are coming in. Good. All right. So first question from Matthias. Matthias is always usually the first question in the queue. Well, love it. Consistency for the day. I can upload Excel files into Power BI Pro Workspace, but how to use the Excel file in the service, not Power BI Desktop, as a source for a report. So this question comes from an end user who has no Power BI skills nor access. What do you think about that, Casper?
Yeah, I think he's right to ask that question. It's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
I mean, the main reason for uploading Excel files into Power BI Pro Workspace is not as a data source. It's more for actually being able to visualize an Excel report at the same places where you have your Power BI data. So actually using it as a source for a report, I don't think that's really possible. You probably should leave it at other places. Now, there are some things here that potentially are coming this way. You've probably already seen some of the things that Will was presenting, and also it was presented at several of the conferences where some of the quick create stuff that they're showing, like today it only works with Dynamics and in SharePoint lists and things like this, but right. I can imagine that also coming in here. I don't actually own the feature or anything, so maybe we're putting in words in mouths for other PMs who are not here anyway in the chat, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No one knows. It's
well,
not recorded. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I've seen people ask that. I saw that on another stream too, and in the live stream happened. It's like, hey, is this being recorded? I'm like, yes, it's on YouTube. But yeah, that's the one thing I love about Power BI is the journey, right? So there's always been improvements along the way. Love the feedback from folks.
But there's definitely a lot of interest in like making it easier to, actually get insights out of lists of data or things like this. So
yes, yeah.
And this definitely would seem to.
So and to clarify a little bit too, you can use Excel as a source for your data in your Power BI reports. It's just that ability to directly connect a report to an Excel file without having to use like a data set or intermediary layer, like that semantic layer.
Yeah.
That was where Matthias was coming from, and that's what's not necessarily capable today or as easy as it could be. So, yep.
And I think, also the funny thing is like we've also seen some of the people present about like being able to do modeling and creating on the web. So,
yep,
we'll get there.
Yes, we will. Keep the feedback coming. All right, so real quick, so Mark Walter saying congrats Belinda as well, member for 30 months. Thank you for that, Mark. You've been a long time member. Love it. And then Alex also, so many milestone members, 32 months. Alex has been a supporter. Outstanding. I love it. Thank you, Alex. And then Paul Turley coming in with a super chat as well. So saying congrats to Belinda as well for becoming a data goddess. So thank you for that, Paul. All right. Let's see here. D. Smith has a question. Is it possible to show throughput by day by hour? For example, I need to count the number of patients in the waiting room and the ones in the treatment room by day and hour.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
You can't use the actual time intelligence function because they don't work by hour. But you can make your own function. Like you can go back previous hour and the day, and so yeah, definitely. Real time, maybe it's a bit more tricky. If you go ask about real time and being able to do these things like on the fly, that's going to be a bit more tricky. But
so I think Casper, I'm gonna use the phrase here. It depends.
I try to not do it.
No, it's good. And Stina in Texas is asking, what do we do with all the It Depends funds? So we're collecting. So we get $1 for every time a question has It Depends. It's just one time. So if there's multiple It Depends in a question, it just counts for one. And then what we're going to do at the end of the year, it's going to go to charity. So we'll figure that out as we get closer to December. But yeah, this one is an It Depends for sure. Because it depends how you model your data. I know Patrick did a video on like working with hours and time itself instead of just dates. And so it depends how you model your data. And if you do have that, yes, you could, as Casper mentioned, the time intelligence functions won't work against it, but you could still use DAX to do comparison and whatnot over that. So it should work.
Yeah.
Just model your data correctly. I think that's the biggest blocker on those types of things is you didn't model it correctly and you don't have that.
Well, you probably want to have a separate hour dimension.
Yes.
Like separate date dimension and
break it out from date. Yes. And I think Patrick goes through that in the video as well. So, hey, Alex, if you can find it, drop it in the chat. So, all right. Good. So Aman. Let's see here. Do you use thin reports as a standard deployment? I've been doing that for some time, but now have run into too many limitations. Am I wrong to have this as a standard? Do I need to supply $1? It depends. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
No, I think, it definitely makes sense to do it, but probably many people here on the stream are the people who are building these more advanced reporting and dashboarding where you work with the team and you actually have to want to do something that is more like an IT project. And then it would make sense to do it because you can actually have multiple people work on one model. You can even use some customizations, like thanks to composite models, you can do some renaming, you can change some measures. So there's actually quite a lot of things that you can do. Maybe not, I mean, Tin Reports has a little bit evolved now that we have composite models. With composite models, and actually I talk about this with Jeffrey quite in depth in the podcast too, that hasn't arrived yet. But yeah, that's really what composite models are built for. Like, so then you can easily work with multiple people on one thing, even though you cannot really completely change the model and things like this, but they can do lightweight changes. They can add their own measures. And if you don't like it, you can just delete that report and they're gone, you know? So yeah, so I would definitely think if you have a bigger team and it's a more interesting project, then it would make sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I see a lot of folks, a lot of the larger enterprise customers, I think they're adopting that model too, where you've got that central data set and then building reports off of that from a self-service perspective.
So Laura's asking, what is a thin report? A thin report is a report without model.
Yeah. Well, so if you have that
to a data set.
Yeah, if you have a data set, basically it's a live connected to a data set, right? You're just building the reports on top of it. So yeah, whether that's in Power BI Desktop or in the service, but leveraging the shared data set and building many reports off of that one data set. So
yeah, but again, as you see a lot of things, it's not just live connect, and this is where things get a bit like with the new composite models. It's it's live connect plus plus, if you will.
Yes, yeah, plus live connect.
And there's a renaming and things like this. So yeah,
they should put that in the UI, live connect plus plus. So
yeah,
they never will.
There's no stupid questions, Laura.
No, Laura, that was a great question. I appreciate you asking it. Love it. So cool. And then Matthias, like an Excel live connection. Oh boy. One day, maybe. Probably not. All right. Wassam has a question. I have 2 dates in a table, reported on, open, and date resolved, closed. How can I track changes weekly, monthly, based on items closed, open, weekly, and monthly? Ooh.
I mean, I think, so first of all, I have 2 separate date tables that you connect to both of them. Because, I mean, today, the only way you can actually get reported and date resolved, like if you want to have a date table to connect it to it, you cannot have multiple relationships between 2 tables. So probably you would have a reported on date and a resolved date table. And then, I mean, you have to do some DAX magic to be able to track the changes. But again, it really depends on what the unique identifier is in that table that you can figure out where you can go, and how do you figure out what belonged to the previous one. So you can say, yeah, this probably you need an ID or you need something to be able to figure out to go back in time, but it should be easily possible in DAX.
Time intelligence all the way.
About using
used relationship. I was
going to mention use relationships.
Yeah,
you can do use relationships too. I think it gets a bit complicated if you start doing that, but sure, there's many things you can do about things in DAX. So you can use relationships. Then you don't have to create a second date table.
Right.
I like to create a second date table because it also makes it easier for like slicers and filters and because what?
Yeah, go.
You don't like it?
I like the single date table approach instead of overcomplicating the model.
But in this case, like if you have fact data in this table and you want to show the reported date,
this is where
you need to pick one.
Yeah. Well, from a slicer perspective, yeah. So, and this is where the it depends really comes in. So, like, what are you trying? What questions are you trying to answer, and how do you want that user experience to be in the report? And that's gonna kind of dictate which direction you go down.
Exactly.
So it depends. But
if it's just for the one calculation, maybe I would still create it but hide it. But
right,
again, that's me.
Yeah. And there's flexibility there too, right? So the other thing I would say is just as you create those things, I would hope you don't have like 124 date tables in your model. like Chris is saying. But yeah, like think about the solution, think about what you're trying to answer, and then test it too. Like use DAX Studio, look at what the performance numbers look like. Is it performing right? Maybe make adjustments based on that. So yeah, definitely, and it depends. Yeah. But then after that, yeah, use the time intelligence functions. They can do amazing things. Also check out daxpatterns.com. They've got a bunch of great examples for how to do a lot of those common things for tracking things over time, and a lot of time intelligence.
RBI guy saying, "Cat fight."
Cat fight.
Oh, you should come to our team meetings.
Oh my gosh. Oof. Yes. Some of those get very, I'll say, passionate. Yeah. Sometimes. So nice. All right. Moving on. MCG. Let's see here. Question. Any tips for a time slicer where the user can select today, yesterday, current week, last week, current month, etc.? Some users find the default slicer uncomfortable. This comes up every once in a while.
Yeah, well, you can do something with the calculation groups.
Yeah. You can do
what I would do.
You could do that. I've seen some techniques of where you have like a disconnected table that has those items, and then based on that in your DAX, you can actually control like what that means. Because when you say today, yesterday, current week,
that is calculation groups.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean that. Yes, that's a way to do it. Yeah. You can do it without calculation groups though, and use a disconnected table and whatnot.
Actually, that's a good point for Kevin. Field parameters these days also might be interesting.
Yeah.
Depending on, again, it depends.
It depends.
What you want to do.
It depends.
With the field parameters, you can actually go ahead and say, like, if you want to do it today, you can swap out the axis on a visual.
Right.
Or something like this. So.
Yeah, so the challenge here is that when you say today, yesterday, or whatever, that's a sliding window, so you have to calculate that in the context of the day to understand what those values mean. And so you're going to have some DAX there that handles that. And so how do you want that? As opposed to, and you're going to have the user relatable string today, yesterday, last month. And so what does that mean in that context? So, yep. So lots of good options there. That sounds like
I don't think we talk enough about calculation groups, so I like going there.
Yes. Yeah. That's Patrick probably would have gone there too. So he loves that stuff. All right. Eric, is there any good guide on export PDF document from Power BI service using PowerShell APIs with export filter?
Where's Chris Finland?
Yeah. Chris, he's in the chat. Chat. So, Chris, you should do a video on that. I think I would say use Power Automate. Power Automate's got I know they've got a built-in thing for the export to API stuff on there. So, not necessarily paginated, Kratos, but just the export to API functionality is really good. So, but the Power Automate, it makes it easy. The actual what do they call those in Power Automate? This shows how much I use Power Automate. I need to use it more in terms of there's I don't know what they're called.
I don't know.
Chris, that's old Chris jam. Chris has forgotten all about it. So yeah, Charlie, it's a flow, but there's like the the actions, the connectors, all of that. So you create a flow, but you're using those actual the actions or connectors as part of that. Yeah. And there's a good one there for exporting content from Power BI. So that was something Chris and team helped work in Chris's old life. He helped to make that happen. So.
But I mean, to Kratos' point, paginated might be also good for this.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of the spewing out of PDFs and things like this.
Yes. Yeah,
paginated keeps with his answer. I
started
my career with paginated, so
same here. And Carrie's asking also, curious, what would you need that for? That's always the question. That's always a great question to ask. Wow, yeah. So but the question is why? Like, what are your goals? Like, I'm gonna harness my inner Matthew on this. Like, what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what's the need for exporting it? And typically, as Casper mentioned, the answer is because people asked for it. I'm like, okay, but like, what's the, you got to dig into that a little bit. So, all right. Let's see here. Zahid. I've connected data using Dataverse. Oh, Scott's in the chat. Scott, get ready. I've connected data using Dataverse with Dynamics 365 with a direct query. How can I see the live data refresh as a text? I don't know what that means. Do you mean?
Well, the only thing I know, like, I don't know exactly what the question is, but I do know is if you want to see data refreshing coming in, you have to set it in the Power BI desktop. You can say refresh every.
Yeah, there's a page refresh setting.
Yeah, there's a page refresh setting, and then it will automatically send the queries again back to the Dataverse, and then it will get the latest data. Yeah, automatic page refresh.
Yes.
Exactly, Alex.
Yep. And I think for pro users, by default, the lowest you can go is every 30 seconds, and then premium, you can go down to like every 1 to 5 seconds or whatever. So that's something you can configure. It is nice. The other thing with in terms of that too is think about, so direct query, yes, we're pulling from the source and you can refresh the page and have it automatically. No, Pro lets you do it. Alex is saying it's premium only, not Pro. It's we did allow Pro unless Power BI changed that. Pro was like a 30-second only option. And Kratos, do not go direct query on Dataverse. Yeah,
that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe Scott can paste in some of his documents on this.
Oh, Raphael, that's what it was, 30 minutes, not 30 seconds. Or it's some 30 something. But yes, you can do it in Pro. So the thing with direct query though is also understand the latency on the source, right? So how often is it updated when you direct query, let's say SQL Server, let's not say Dataverse, but we're going to SQL because they're like, oh, I need real time. Well, but the data in your SQL Server may not be updated but every 24 hours. So like, is that even really what you need? So think about that as well. Understand what that data latency is on the source itself. So DAF, that's for schedule refresh. That's not for the page refresh. So the 8 times a day for Pro, 48 for Premium, that's for schedule refresh.
Scott, I don't think you can see your guys.
Oh, no, hang on. I'll fix that. All right, Scott, you can drop the link now. That didn't work before. It will now. Drop the link. Try and be, or you could invoke Hey Alex. So either one works. All right. Interesting. I'm gonna have to play with that, Alex, because I know in the blog there was some thing there that it worked for Pro. So I've got something to do this weekend, I guess. So nice. All right, Steve. Let's look at the clock. We still got some time here. Steve's got a question. Do you have any general feedback regarding interactive paginated report processing on a Gen 2 capacity? Whew. We recently upgraded our Gen 1 capacity to Gen 2 and interactive PR using up more CPU. Ooh.
CPU, like
on
Gen
the capacity
1 or compared to Gen 1?
Yes.
I think, the whole system is a bit different. So,
Chris, I'm leaving chat now.
Chris is smart.
Yep.
I think, the system changed a little bit, and the calculations changed. The way that the CPUs are being, like, there's a lot of background and foreground, all of these things we didn't have before. So, yeah, I can imagine it changed.
So I would also be interested to see, like, is it like a drastic change or was it a little bit of a change? Like some of that is, if it's drastic, I wouldn't have expected that. But fluctuations in that, sure. Yeah. It's a different architecture. As with anything there. So Matthias, yeah, interactive paginating. I think it's just a paginated report. But it shows up, I think, under the metrics app, I think just breaks out between interactive and background. And the paginated shows up under the interactive because that's just the it's not a background like a refresh or something like that. And so I would look at the report though and see if you can optimize that. Look at what expressions are being used, and that's going to be the big thing that you're going to be able to do in terms of optimizing that or getting that CPU burned down. So I'm not aware of anything personally in terms of specific things with paginated that would have caused that, outside of just a general infrastructure update. So if you are concerned about it and it's causing, like, it's drastic or something's going on, definitely open up a support case. Yeah, Steve, the report's already been optimized.
Saying he's getting CPU overloads. Yeah.
Yeah, I would open up a support case. Yeah, Paul, not the cat team. not for that. But definitely open up a support case and let's see if we can. Yep. All right. Cool. Support case is already open. That's the right approach, because they've got to go help you drill in and figure out like what's causing it, where it's coming from. They can look at some of that telemetry and maybe see if there's some suggestions that could be made. So, all right. Let's get one more in here. Jenny's got a question. Jenny's was a hashtag new, so welcome, Jenny. Auto exist in interactions with all recently broke my mind and my model. Okay. I know star schema is the solution, but do you only need to pull out the dimension you are using all on?
Wow.
It's an interesting question. Yeah. I'm trying
Auto exist in direction.
Auto exists.
I mean, if you're going to do all on a table that you want to calculate on, and the same values or the same columns are just in that table, not in a separate table, you can, but that will break your mind. So I would definitely recommend, if you are going to do all on some, but if you're going to do all on a column and you want to have the same in that same table, you want to have the values that you have summarize with a measure, it's going to be very painful. So I would definitely recommend get that column into a separate dimension table.
Yep. Because
that's how DAX works. I mean, of course there are always workarounds and you can do a lot of other things. Yeah, Paul was saying just use a star schema, problems will go away. In this case, probably it's true. That will cause a lot of headache.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, this is what I always say. If you revert to DAX gymnastics, things will get painful if you don't think about.
But I would also say the thing Patrick and I talk about too is that if your model is not modeled correctly, usually your DAX tends to be more complicated to counteract that, right? Or to just to handle the fact that you're not modeled correctly. And so if it is modeled correctly, typically your DAX is going to be simpler. So
it's also easy. It's also hard to model correctly. So that's
MIM.
Yeah, no big flat table. Yes.
Yeah, MIM trolling. I love it. All right, members, we are at the halfway mark. Get your questions in. Chatmaster C has cleared the queue for you. So now is the time. So for those watching, we're going to go into member-only chat. So only members and moderators can participate in the chat. Everyone else can still watch the chat, but only the members and moderators can participate. And so this is just a perk that we give for being a member. So be sure to, if you are interested in becoming a member, just check out the join button down below or the link I'm putting in the chat to learn more information. And you can participate in that. As with all things, super chats take priority. So if you do have a burning question we didn't get to, be sure to submit a super chat, and that will get you ahead of the queue. That is true throughout the whole stream. So, but now we will go into member-only chats. And typically, so one of the benefits of being a member as well is to pre-submit questions. And that usually we address those usually first on the member-only section. Unfortunately, we do not have any member-only pre-submitted questions that we're able to highlight this stream. So we'll go right to the questions. Oh my gosh. Mr. Finland, I'm going to grab your question first. We'll go with that. Casper, are the Sixers going to finally make it to the ECF this year, or am I doomed to watch them underperform once again? I'm assuming that's a sports ball reference.
Yes.
Go sports.
I'm not very positive for you, Chris. Sorry.
I think that's a general statement we would ask we would say in general.
Good thing he's not. Good thing he can't talk.
All right, Laura, have you put March 14th through the 18th in your diary yet?
I think it's is that sequel bits?
That's sequel bits.
I did.
Yes, I do as well. So I know Chatmaster C was already looking at flights, so she's excited. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, sequel bits, loving it. All right, Christian. Is there any best practice when it comes to a separate measure table, or is it only a matter of personal preference? That's a good question.
Personal preference. That's the way I hate measure tables. So
why?
That's my personal preference.
Why do you hate them?
I don't know. I feel like
Hate's a strong
I feel
word.
like I want to. I feel pretty strong about it too. I feel like measures need to belong with the dimension. Like if you talk about like a sales fact table, I want a sales measure. If I want something about like customers, I want to have a measure on customers. I expect it to be in the customers table, not into one big measure table. Okay, you can use folders and you can use things like this too. Yeah, it's just a matter of opinion, I guess. I think it kind of comes probably with people who use measure tables who are also very familiar to MDX, where in the good old days, measures were always separate in the Excel pivot table. So yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, I would agree. This one it depends
Of course.
on whether you use it or not. So I think there are some checkout capabilities as well. So there's some limitations to it. So from a measure table perspective, I don't know if this is still true. The Analyze in Excel, I think, had some problems with it. And then Q&A feature also had some issues with it. So some of that may be a feature compatibility as to why you would want to use one or not use one. Do Andy's? Right,
measure table is the pineapple pizza of the BI world.
Oh, that's going to get Alex going. Oh, Alex, he's calling you out. Ooh, pineapple pizza.
I'm also not a big pineapple pizza
Andy
fan.
says pineapple pizza is good. I would argue with that, but that one is a definitely. It depends on who you're asking. If you're asking Alex, he's pineapple all the way. Not me though. All right. Good question though. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Jarrell. Any experience pulling data from Outlook attachments, Exchange, and how do you speed up Power Query? Ooh, Also, I've got a job as a Power BI data analyst and start on Monday. Just FYI, congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
Love it. All right,
But,
Outlook
putting
attachments. Yeah, how do you do that?
I have no clue.
You have no clue? I've got two words for you. Power Automate. Oh, Power Automate. Get the attachment out of Outlook. I'd also ask what is the attachment? Like what kind of attachment are we talking about? Hopefully it's not an image. But if it's like an Excel file or PDF, if you can dump those, use Power Automate to dump it to a known location, and then Power BI will pick that up. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm with Christian. There is a connector for Outlook in Power Query, but probably
but that's not going to get you. That's not what you think it is.
Problems.
Well, but the connector in Power Query for Outlook, technically it's for Exchange. I think that it goes against your mailbox, and so I think you can get a list of messages, but you're not going to get attachments through that. At least my understanding of it. In full disclosure, I've not played a lot with that connector, but it's also in the context of just your user, and so there's limitations with that. I would honestly go with Power Automate and get that attachment off of the mail, get it into like a OneDrive folder or something like that, where then we can go against that. Like if it's a list of Excel files, and then just put Power Query against that. And then
I'm
you're
really
in a much
thinking
better
like
state.
nice over-engineering, put it in an ADLS and put a Synapse serverless on top.
We need Azure Data Factory pipelines to get it moved over. Yeah, you could do that. So it depends, like on how far you want to go and what you want to play. Sometimes it's a good thing to explore new technologies, and you want to learn something new. This is a great way to go after it.
But make sure you use the credit card from your boss.
Yes. Or ask Patrick for his. So, yeah. The second part of this though is how to speed up Power Query. That is a loaded question. So I would say,
I think in this case he probably already tried it and it was not fast.
I would imagine that.
How can I speed it up?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the answer Patrick, the answer Adam gave is the best one. Like, get these files out of there and use a separate place.
Well, so I'm thinking beyond like the attachment question, or the Outlook message, just in general. Like if Power Query is slow, like what do you go do? Like how do you make it faster? Like sprinkle magic code on it and just make it go. Get the magic M code and stick it on there. Or have Alex on speed dial. So that's one answer.
I think the first thing is anything against APIs is going to be slow in general. Like you're pulling against APIs, they're not meant for data analysis. So yeah. Exchange is an API. You're calling an API.
That's going to be slow.
It will be painful. Yeah.
And that's why
meant for this.
Yeah. That's why like get that attachment out of there, dump it in OneDrive, and then go after that. That's going to be a much easier spot. We got Alex excited in the chat about Power Query. So buffer steps and don't try to over-engineer the world. Well, but if you do want to over-engineer, that's when you're going to go to Azure Data Factory. But when you go to Azure Data Factory, make sure you're using Power Query inside of it. So oh, nice. And then just from a general Power Query perspective, just make sure that stuff is folding correctly. There's lots of content out there about like how to figure out if Power Query is folding. That will help. But yeah, in terms of Exchange, don't get your expectations lower in terms of performance. So yeah, awesome. Samuel, thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Awesome. Donald says Power Query in Azure Data Factory is torture. Why is it torture? Ooh, drop your thoughts in the chat. I know Alex is definitely interested. I'm interested as well. I'd love to know why you consider that torture. It's interesting. Yeah, don't break the fold. Yes, don't break the fold. Love it.
That's a new T-shirt right there.
Yeah, I'm surprised Alex hasn't gotten something like that. Oh, Alex said Donald and him talk about it frequently. All right, good. All right, Burnett. Why does the connection string of analyze in Excel not include the CTID, which is the tenant ID? That's what that is, and thus does not work for guest users. Because they didn't code it that way.
Yeah, it's probably like I think using analyze in Excel instead of using the actual connection string that you get for the premium capacities. I think if you use that, it should work.
Because I think they're
different.
They are different. I haven't actually tried with the XMLA endpoint if we can pass in the tenant ID. I haven't tried that. That's interesting.
Do you need to pass in the tenant ID?
So if you're coming in as a guest user, though, if you want to reference that tenant, you have to have the tenant.
But you don't
ID as part of it.
You get a unique XML endpoint.
I'd have to test it. I haven't tried. Doing that as a guest user is interesting. But Burnett's saying that they're not. So analyze in Excel is not premium, and so I think the thing here is why do you? So he's saying XMLA endpoint, you can pass the tenant ID. So yeah. but it's not included by default. Yeah.
I think you already answered your own question here.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't have premium, then obviously XML endpoint's not an option. But for the analyze in Excel, the other thing you could try that may work is instead of just doing the analyze in Excel feature, and this is it's a little bit backwards, but if you go into Excel and choose Power BI dataset from the get data piece, or the transform and get data, when you choose the dataset, that it'll by default it'll only list the datasets that are in your tenant. So how would you show up the shared datasets with you? So I don't know that that's going to necessarily work either for you, but good feedback.
I think he already answered his own question.
Yeah. So yeah, if you do have access to premium, go XML endpoint. You can use the tenant ID there. So those data sets don't list because of the fact that you're signed into your tenant. Now, what you could do, and I've done this in Power BI Desktop, is when you sign into, that wouldn't work on the Office side though. That's a bummer. There's complications there, So, all right, XML endpoint all the way. I would argue that that's not a good end user experience though, for a business user. So, all right, Greg. Top down versus bottom up at Microsoft. How does self-service BI work in your shop? Is the goals OKR thing getting big at Microsoft? Oof.
Everyone is using Power BI to. Everyone is using Power BI to. Actually, there's a white paper on it. Oh my god,
yes.
It's old white paper. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh
it's in the guidance doc section. Hey, Alex, can you drop that link?
Yeah, there is a doc on how Microsoft does their BI
transformation. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely interesting because we know like people like Satya is using Power BI every day, and if it doesn't work, it's been a while. I haven't got any emails from him that things don't work, but he's definitely using it. And also, we're using not the same version as the rest.
It's not
of
the
world.
production.
We're
it's
using
not the production.
We're using pre-production. So we are like your testers too.
Yeah, Microsoft is the dog food.
Everyone Microsoft.
Yep. So
second dog food even.
Yeah. So hey Alex, there's also a good link out there, the SRE doc, the site reliability engineering, and that talks about the stages of deployment. So it talks about the Microsoft tenant, the DXT tenant, then production, and how all that works. So yeah, it's interesting. So the thing I would say, in terms of the OKRs, I would say OKRs are big at Microsoft. They do look at those. Those are definitely tracks. The scorecards are being used. I remember Arun actually used scorecards for his organization for the OKRs.
Our boss has them too.
Yes.
Like in goals.
Yep. And I would say
metrics.
I would say if Mark Regera can easily set up goals in the metrics inside of Power BI, anyone can do it. And then in terms of self-service, I know with that BI transformation, Mark Regera, leads the CAT team, he's big on the phrase discipline at the core, flexibility at the edge, right? So make sure your model is created correctly. And then allow others to build self-service off of that. And I would say that's a common thing inside of Microsoft.
But there are a few big models, mostly for sales and finance.
Right.
Actually, our colleagues Venkatesh and Michael actually built it, and then we stole them to come work with us. But so they have a huge model for all the sales at Microsoft.
Yep.
And it's been used by I don't know how many people, but a lot of people at Microsoft every day to see if they're making their sales targets and things like this. So but the majority, like all the PMs, they have their own, like they're really self-serve.
Yep. Yeah. And Power BI is definitely used very heavily. So I would not expect anything less. All right, Premchender. Let's see here. The new Power BI app options are nice, but when admin fails to group them, they return the entire list of reports. Yeah. Should there be a toggle to switch between the old and the new app interface? This is about the audience stuff. I've done several videos on it. This is, it's once you opt in.
No way back.
Yeah, there's no way back. So.
It's like the Eagles, right?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah. Now in terms of the grouping, like if they're not creating, like say if you've got 20 reports and they're not taking advantage of the audience capabilities to split up those items, I mean, give them feedback, like ask them to do that. That's up to the person that's creating the app. So Power BI doesn't know how they're supposed to be split up. So you've got to tell it. So yeah. Yep. But check out that audience capability. It's a very cool feature. So, and I'm glad it's finally there. That was something that's been asked for a long time. All right. Let's see here. Daph has got a question. Multi-fact table models. What would be your way of aggregating columns from different tables into one measure? For example, sales from different tables into one measure. Foreign key equals dates.
I mean, it depends.
It depends.
What are you? I mean, do you have shared dimensions? I assume so. If you have shared dimensions, then they should be. You can just aggregate from two different tables.
Yep.
Into what with one measure, as long as the dimension tables are shared.
So I would also ask.
Usually the granularity is different, and now things get interesting. So some people are saying like, do it up front and pre-aggregate if you're doing it on a grain level. I think Marco and Alberto did a really good session on multi-fact tables somewhere. But it's been a while since I've seen it, but
Thomas is saying union, so maybe. The other thing I would ask too is like if you have sales in two different fact tables, it's fair to also say is like, do you need those two different fact tables? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Could they exist in the one fact table? I don't know. Like you probably have two different fact tables for a reason, and that's fair.
It's probably different granularity, I guess.
Could be a different granularity as well. So, Chris, no unions. Paul, no union.
As long as you have shared dimensions, it should be okay. Even if they are not in the and not union both as a calculated table. Just do not give them any ideas like that now.
No. Yeah, don't do that.
I definitely hope he can still sign in on Monday after this comment.
Oof. Well, Matthew's not here, so he didn't hear it, so it's fine. Yeah, so definitely take a look at it. I mean, you could do a measure on the one fact table, do another measure on the other fact table, and then aggregate them together. But as Casper mentioned, like make sure the granularities are the same. Make sure you've got right relationships in place. Hopefully, it's a shared dimension. So yeah, be careful, Alex. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good idea. I've been told that too. Like when Matthew's gotten on me when I make comments and it's clear sarcasm. Matthew catches it, but he's like, I don't know that everyone caught that was sarcasm. So I got to be careful about that. All right. Paul's got a question. All right. What's the best way to store a password in a data set? Ooh. More specifically, is there an easy way to create an HMAC, so the SHA-256 base 64 hash without connecting to an external API to create the hash? Ooh, I need Sergey on this call.
I don't think really I don't think it's a good idea to store passwords in the data set, period.
No, I would not. Why would you store a password in a data set? Like what's the value of having the password in the data set if you're reporting on it from an analytics perspective? So what's interesting though is Casper, you went a different way than where I was going originally when I first started reading the question. At first I was like, oh, well, how do we store the password like for the data source as we're connecting and refreshing the data set? That's what I thought. because with Power BI Desktop, like if I share the Power BI Desktop file with you, Casper, that passwords, if I have a password locally, that doesn't go with the desktop file. And so that's where I thought this question was going originally, but you twisted that into a way that I wasn't thinking about, which we're actually storing passwords in the data, which I would not do that at all. Like, why?
I mean, in SQL Server, you have this column level encryption too. Like, that would be a good option, but there's no good way to get that into Power BI.
Right.
Unless encrypting it, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, well, but I would ask, like, what are you doing with that? Like, why would you even have passwords there to begin with? Why do we care about that from a reporting or analytics perspective? Even if it's hashed, like, what are you going to do with it? I can't understand. So,
I mean, so Kevin is saying if it's in the code, then you should do something like key vault, but
yes,
the problem is Power BI doesn't allow you to get it in runtime, retrieve a password from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine how really bad for performance that would be? So
yeah. Well, I know also like working with graph APIs, that's another area where I've seen I think Prathi did a blog post a long time ago on this. We're talking about how to use graph APIs, and you're putting like the secret in Power Query so that it runs every time against that API, and that becomes problematic. Like, how do you update that? Or like, because a general security practice, you don't want to put that hard coded, and so then that's the question of like, how do we do that? Key vault, yes, but from a Power Query perspective, that's incredibly hard, if not impossible. So yeah, that's a challenge. There's not a good answer to that. So be careful if you do end up hard coding in Power Query, like a password or a secret of some kind. You got to really make sure that that's locked down. It's not recommended for sure. I understand that sometimes you have to for the solution you're trying to get, but then I would say, look, is there an option or capability you can do outside of Power BI to get that data into a secured location, like through Azure Data Factory or something like that? Get it into a SQL server and then connect to SQL from Power BI. That's a much better approach.
Well, and then you can use Key Vault for
you can use Key Vault
for the password.
Yes. Yeah. That's a much more secure approach. Obviously, it's more complicated, and it's not as easy to set up, but it gives you better security instead of just hard coding something into that. So yeah. So all right. Any other thoughts on that, Casper? No.
Bad idea. Don't do it.
Bad idea. Don't do it. And Andy said, just rot 13 the password for ultimate security. I got to go look up what rot 13 is. I don't know what that is. So, and Scott's got a question for you, Casper. So Casper is in the Netherlands. So I'm excited. I'm going to be hanging out with Casper again here soon.
It's a good question. Why does it exist? But it is something that we've been having for, I don't know, forever. And actually, we do like it. A lot of people eat it.
Yeah.
But, as soon as visitors come, you give them the simple stuff, but the really salty, it's...
Yeah, I go for like the croquets, the bitter balls, the... why am I blanking on the name? The thing I love the most. Oh my gosh.
Stroopwafel?
Yes. And I never say it right. Yes. Say it again.
It's okay. Stroopwafel.
Stroopwafel. Yeah, I can't say that. So my kids love that as well. And Kennedy actually told me, because I said I'm going, and she's like, "Oh, bring back those." And I'm like, "Okay." We'll look.
Just bring an extra suitcase and.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was the last time I was there. Like I brought back like a bag of fresh. Like you walked me around when there was like a market there, and I ended up buying some. And they were fresh. They were fresh when I bought them, not so much when I got home, but. It was good. It was good. All right. So the queue is cleared. We did it, Casper. Huzzah. Yes. Yay. Top of mind for you. What's going on in your world, Casper?
What's going on in my world? Yeah, it's interesting. I think maybe some of the people know, but one of the jobs that we do at the CAT team is not just help customers, but also feed all that feedback back to the engineering team. Mm-hmm. So next week we have another big meeting where we're going to share all the feedback that comes from you and it comes from customers and all of these things to Arun and Amir and so I'm working on that. That's what's keeping me busy, and that's what makes me nervous.
Yep. Gets the heart rate going a little bit. Please don't mess up. So, which they're always good. Those meetings are always good. It's always a good discussion. So, Kevin's asking, is this the first clearing of the queue with time left? It's not. Typically, if we don't have any pre-submitted questions on the member side, we tend to clear the queue on that front. So I expected to clear the queue today because we didn't have any pre-submitted questions. So, yep. So cool. And then, so when do you have a date for your next drop on YouTube or your podcast? Any ETA?
It's going to be Monday or Tuesday.
Monday. Okay. So this coming week. So.
Yeah, because I already did the recording. I'm too lazy to actually do the editing. That I still have to do.
I know. It's hard.
Do it tomorrow.
It's hard. Yes.
So I'm doing it tomorrow, and then I'm going to do another one on Azure Data Explorer. That's going to be interesting too, with someone from the team.
Nice.
Danny Hoter, who maybe some people know here. He's been around for a long time. He's been on the Excel team. He's been Power Pivot. And now he's on the Azure Data Explorer team, so that's going to be really interesting. And I'm also going to get Alberto in, talk about debugging DAX. So that will be good.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So Bernat, how do we pre-submit questions? Great question. I'll stick another thing on the community tab on the Guy in the Cube channel. I do this every once in a while. So you have to be at the visitor or the producer tier of the membership. So if you're just at the supporter tier, that's not one of the perks that comes with it. And then check out the community tab on the YouTube channel, and there's instructions there for how to pre-submit it. You only see those instructions if you're at the visitor or producer tier of the membership. So check that out and get them in. We do have a few we're working on. So of note, we will not have a live stream next Saturday. So I will be just landing in Europe at that time. Patrick's going as well, so no live stream next Saturday. The Saturday after that, we will be back and we'll have the live stream. So looking forward to being in Europe. It's gonna be fun. All right, Casper. Appreciate you spending the time.
My internet made it.
Your internet made it. Yes. We were good. You had a backup plan just in case.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, Wyatt, road trip. So interesting thing, Casper. When someone says a road trip to you, what does that mean to you? I'm curious.
Road trip means you go by car to somewhere.
Okay. So the last time I was in the Netherlands, and we were gonna go from Netherlands to data mines. So it was SQL Saturday, Holland going to data mines. And there was a group of us, and we said we're gonna do a road trip. Cool. So I rented a car. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for the road trip. And they're like, no, we're taking the train. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, we're doing a road trip. I'm like, that's not a road trip.
That's not a road trip.
Okay, because there were several people who were like, yeah, we're doing the train. I would totally done the train, but I thought we were doing a road trip. So, all right. Good thing it's not just me that was put off by that. So, all right. Awesome. Casper, enjoy your next week. Everyone in the stream, have a great week as well. And then excited. Week and a half.
Good to be here.
Get to see you in person, Casper. Me. Yes. Appreciate it as always.
Great.
All right, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
Everyone.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Oh, here you are, face to face in this trashy bar. Another glass and I am going places. Makes me laugh about the irony of everything. I like the way you're thinking, I don't really care.